What's up, nerds? In my last video, I took the Xbox One S and replaced the white light behind the power switch with a blue one. And as I was doing that project, I thought it'd be kind of cool to do it with the controller too. So that's what I did. I replaced the white light on the controller with a green one. In this video, I'm going to show you how I went about doing that.
The first step to replace the LED is to, of course, take apart the controller. We need to get access to the circuit cards on the inside. So first thing we're going to do is remove the battery, and then we'll take a pry tool and just start prying along the edges of the palm grips until they pop off. Then we'll take a screwdriver, I believe this is a T8, and remove the 5 screws on the back. And once that's done, we can pull the front faceplate off and then pop off the joysticks. Once that's done, we can separate the internal components from the rear exterior, and then we'll take that same pry tool and just remove the antenna cables shown there. There's a few more screws we want to remove here to separate the 2 circuit cards on the inside of the controller. The vibration motors themselves too aren't actually screwed in, they'll just pop right out. After we remove a few more screws, we can then pull the circuit board in question out, turn it over, and we find the light that we're looking for. So this light is what sits behind the power switch on the controller, and it's what gives it that characteristic white color. All we need to do is replace this with a different LED of a different color, and we should have what we're looking for. To find a replacement LED, we need to figure out the dimensions of the old one. So we took some calipers here and measured a length of 1.9 millimeters and a width of 1.3 millimeters. With these dimensions, I was able to find some replacement LEDs on an electronics distributor website called DigiKey. For the sake of brevity, I'm not going to go into details about how I found these LEDs, but if you're interested in that, let me know below. One thing to point out is that the specific LEDs I have selected, they don't have the exact dimensions that we measured earlier. Right, we measured 1.9 by 1.3 millimeters, and in actuality, these LEDs are 2 millimeters by 1.4 millimeters. Shouldn't be a problem. We'll go ahead and order 3 of these. You only need 1, but it's always a good idea to buy a few extras, and at 72 cents a pop, you're not breaking the bank. The tools I use for this job include a Weller soldering iron, some Chip Quick water-soluble tack flux I got off Amazon for like 13 bucks, and finally some no clean solder wick. First thing, as always, is to add some flux to the solder pad, and then I'll take some of the wick and heat it with the iron, trying to remove as much solder from the pad as possible. We'll do the exact same thing on the other side here, and keep in mind you may have to do this numerous times. I'm only showing 1 time on each pad for the sake of brevity. Once enough solder's been removed, take some tweezers, start wiggling it. You may have to heat it with the soldering iron, and it should just pop right off. Comparing it to the old LED, we can see the new one is a tad bit smaller, but it really shouldn't be an issue for our purposes. So we'll go ahead and get started adding this new one. Next, we'll clean up the pads a little bit by again adding more flux and hitting it with the solder wick. Just trying to remove as much solder as possible to prep it for the new LED. And then we'll clean it with some isopropyl alcohol. First thing we're going to do is add a bit of flux to one of the pads. This is just going to help the solder flow more nicely. And we'll place the LED over that pad. Then we'll take a little bit of solder on our iron and just tack it into place. We'll come back later and touch it up, but for now, this is good enough. Then I'll flip the board around and work on the other pad, doing the same thing. Add a little bit of flux and then a little bit of solder on our iron just to get it in place, and we'll touch it one more time just to make it a little more permanent. And then we'll go back to that first pad again, adding more flux and then dabbing it with a little bit of solder with the iron. Once that's done, we can start cleaning things up a bit. I'm starting with some distilled water, and then I'll move on to some isopropyl alcohol, just trying to make everything shiny and clean. Inspecting our work, everything seems to be looking okay. Not the best joints I've ever done, but should work. After soldering the new LED onto the circuit board, we can start putting the controller back together again. Now, I'm not going to lie, putting Humpty Dumpty back together again was a bit of a challenge. It's a lot easier to take things apart than it is to put them back together again, but with some patience, it all came together very nicely. And now it's time to test it out. Turning the controller on, you can see that our modification worked, and boy does it look good. I love this green color LED. So much so I'm thinking about changing my Xbox modification, the blue light. I'm thinking about switching it over to a green. But thanks for watching, everyone. If you're interested in these kind of videos, please let me know and I can continue doing them. Still new to this and trying to figure out what my niche might be. But yeah, thanks again.